Hey everybody, welcome back. Day two. You guys just wanted to quickly go reiterate some things that we already discussed, but just in case, here's the remind code that you guys all should be logged into the Remind app. That way, you guys can receive messages about things that might be upcoming, and also that's a good way to get in contact with me in case you guys have questions. And it'll, hit me up on my cell phone, and I'll be able to answer that quickly. Same with email as well. So my email address, the testin.k12.ca.us is just the one I more frequently check. So that's a better one to reach me at. And then my office hours, 10 to 11 daily. You just need to click on this link right here, and that'll take you there. If you guys have any questions, any thing that you need clarification on, or you need any help with, please feel free to stop by, and I can help you out then as well. Like I said previously, I know that you guys are going to be able to get through this. It is um, something that it's different with summer school, but the fact that they've cut out quite a bit, so that way we're just kind of getting to the nitty gritty, and really just tackling the more important stuff. You guys should be able to get through and be successful with this class, and be able to finish with no problem. So I'm going to go through another some more notes, and some notes that I've, like I said before, I have already done, and you guys are more than welcome to pause it, write them down if you'd like, or you guys can just follow along with the video. Maybe it's a good refresher. It's just something to supplement again on top of what you guys are seeing in the Plato class, the courses and curriculum that you guys are going through right now. So the next part that you guys are going to be talking about and going through is solving equations. Remember that when you guys solve an equations, your objective is to get the variable by itself alone. Okay, is to get it by itself with an equal sign on the other side. In order to do that, you basically are going to be doing opposite operations, right? So if you have an, uh, an addition sign next to the variable, then you are going to be doing subtraction. If you guys have a subtraction sign, then you're going to be doing addition. Multiplication means you're going to be doing division. And if you see division, you're going to be doing multiplication. Okay. So, for example, number one, it says x minus 8 equals 0. What you're going to be doing is the opposite of minus 8, means you're going to add 8 to both sides. And I always say what you do to one side, you have to do to the other side. That's my OSOS rule. One side, other side. So if I have plus 8 here, I plus 8 over here. Just like the next one says b plus 5 equals negative 13. So the opposite of plus 5 is minus 5, or subtract 5. So I have to subtract 5 on both sides. And that gets me b equals negative 18 here. This line underneath the M is a division line. I know it looks like a fraction, but that is division. And the opposite of division is multiplication. And what you're going to do is you're going to multiply both sides by whatever the denominator is. So if I multiply this side by 7, what happens is these 7s end up canceling each other out. So that means I have to multiply this side by 7. All right, because again, that 7 is like 7 over 1. And whenever you have the same thing on top and on bottom of a fraction, it's cross canceling there. Right? And then that leaves me with m equals 84. All right, and then the last one. This negative 5, anytime you have a number next to a letter, remember that means multiplication. If you have to, put a little dot there in between, that's fine. But understand that opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide, not just by 5, but by negative 5. You have to include that sign that's with it. Same thing with problem number 3 there, if it was negative 7. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 5. All right, and we get b equals. Now, if you remember from yesterday, what happens when you have a positive divided by a negative? That means my answer is going to be negative. All right, how many times? I'm doing this off the top of my head. Can 5 go into 14? That's twice. That leaves me with a 4 and a 5, and that goes into it 9 times. All right. Yeah. So that's one step. Okay. Now, what if we had to solve multi-step? Okay. Now, when you're looking at multi-step, what you guys can remember, and again, this is just kind of one way that I've taught this, is that when you had to simplify an expression, remember you use the formula PEMDAS. Well, for solving an equation, you're going to do the opposite of PEMDAS. Okay, meaning the opposite direction. So starting at P, we're going to start at S. So I called it SADMEP. Right, SADMEP. It's kind of like the order that you want to think about doing things. So we always look to get that variable by itself, but in order to do that, we're going to look to do any kind of addition or subtraction first. Then we go to multiplication or division, and then we'll look at exponents and parentheses after that. So you can see here, first step, add 2 to both sides. Okay, 2's cancel. Then we're going to divide both sides by 6. That way these 6's cancel, and that gets me a by itself. Anytime you're left with a fraction, please make sure you reduce. In this case, they're both divisible by 2, okay, which is why we end up with 5 over 3 for our answer there. All right, so solving multi-step equations, okay, you are going to look to do addition or subtraction first, and then multiplication or division, and going from there. Okay, here's a couple more practice if you guys wanted to take a look at those and practice those as well. I'm going to jump down to the next one, which is variables on both sides. Remember, when you have variables on both sides, the best thing to do is to combine like terms first. Okay, and I always try to get the variables together, and that's just kind of the easiest way to go about solving an equation. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the variables on one side of the equation using addition or subtraction. And then I go through the process of solving for the equation, like I said, the SADMEP, if you will, order. So here, for this example, we are going to subtract 6x. Now, you didn't have to subtract 6x. I just chose to do that. That way, my x's are positive. You could have subtracted 8x on both sides and moved the x's over here. You would just been left with a negative 2x on this side. Choice, I try to keep my variables positive, which is why I subtracted 6x. At this point, now I'm going to try to get x by itself, which means I need to move this minus 31 over to the other side. So I do the opposite and add 31 to both sides. And then to get rid of the 2 that's in front of the x, remember that's multiplication. So the opposite of multiplication is division. So we're going to divide both sides by 2. And we end up with x equals 17. All right. Now, you don't have to keep the variables positive, So in this case, maybe makes it easier if you would just subtract d on both sides. And I end up with negative 7d equals 4. Now, my next step is to divide both sides by negative 7. And I end up with d equals negative 4/7. And yes, sometimes your answers are fractions. Here, probably the easier way to do this problem is to get rid of the parentheses first. So little out of order, but in this case, I think it's going to be an easier way to solve it is to distribute. So if I distribute this, I end up with 2c minus 12 equals 9c plus 2. Now I can get my variables together. I'm going to choose to keep them positive by subtracting 2c on both sides. That leaves me with negative 12 equals 7c plus 2. Then I'm going to subtract 2 on both sides. And that's going to leave me with 7c equals negative 14. Divide both sides by 7. And Remember, a negative divided by a positive is a negative, so make sure you leave your answer negative. 7 goes into 14 2 times, so my answer is negative 2 equals C. All right, and the last one there. Subtract 5k on both sides, and I'm going to add 4 to both sides. So what I'm doing is I'm combining two steps into one. Okay. So these cancel. That leaves me with 2k equals 20 divided by 2k equals 10. Okay. So sometimes you can combine your steps, make it a little bit easier when you're solving. If you end up with an answer where the variables cancel out, so in this example here, that the variables canceled each other out, the a's were gone at this point, and you left with 10 equals 10. So if you're ever left with no variables and the both sides equal each other, then the answer is called an identity, which means that there's infinitely many solutions. If the variables cancel each other out and the two sides don't equal each other, that's called a no solution answer. All right, that was just a little bit of solving multi-step equations for you guys.